Good evening, Squadrons community. This is an SCF production of the SEL Season 11 Playoff Previews. Joining me tonight is Ska from Niwi and Tiny Dragons from Kitten Striders. Why don't you say hi, guys?
Hey, what's going on, Squadrons?
Hello.
They are kind enough to join me tonight as we go over Season 11, how it went, what we see from some of the teams this season, and how the playoffs are going to go. So it should be an interesting one. I think this is one of the closest seasons we've had in terms of talent, in terms of competition. There's a lot of upset, I wouldn't say upset series, but some upset games. And Tiny, you've been very blessed with covering some of them. How did you feel? Tiny, start with you. How did you feel about the season, especially from the coverage perspective and what you saw out there?
I mean, definitely from a lot of the teams that I was able to cover, it seemed really close for almost every single match, with the exception of maybe one or two here and there. But honestly, for this season in particular, I think we're going to have some really close games.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Scott, what do you think? What do you think about, especially about the season and how it went from the team's perspectives?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good season. I think there's a lot of parity. There's like sort of two good teams, two or three like really good teams, then like a group behind it, and then like group in the bottom end. And it seemed like there was some competitive matches. Or not. The strategies are interesting and fresh. Things are happening. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think, and we'll go into a little bit, but I think we'll see how. I see teams preparing this week. Maybe some other games distracting people. So we'll see who dials in and who decides that democracy is more important. But let us go to nice little PowerPoint with Ska. Was very nice to put together for us. Thank you, Ska, for leading the effort here with this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I half-assed this one, so that's my bad.
It's good. And I think a lot of people who have seen the previous ones will know what this looks like. So, some quick notes, I guess, from Season 11. We saw at the beginning, two teams broke up, Savrip and CA Thunder. They disbanded, which created a bit of chaos in terms of, I guess, a land grab, right? People are trying to pick up pilots here and there. I will definitely say that Savrip wasn't intending to break up. We were trying to keep it together, but unfortunately, due to just different priorities and necessities in life, we couldn't hold it together. Hopefully we do come back together next season. We haven't talked about it yet, but hopefully we can kind of reband it together. Though, did we really break up, since JP was able to get together a bunch of Moorish retired players to play at least most of the matches for Savrip. So Savrip did show up this season in some form or another. And Scott, to your point, Cab and Randos got richer. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, Cab picking up Quinn and then Rando's picking up Lauren and Sagan just seems unfair to the rest of us.
I think it, for the Randall Lorians, I will say it wasn't out of left field. They definitely, part of the breakup with Savrip was a bit of them. There was a lot of synergy between us and Randall's last season. I think, they wanted to, a bunch of them wanted to play together and just kind of have a season together at least, which I'm hoping it's a one season thing, but we'll see. For me, I'm a Savrip at heart, by heart, and I said, I'm going to stick here, run the Kitten Striders kind of deal. And Quinn just wanted to play with a team that was more her time zone. So Cab kind of won that. She probably should have talked to Hiveguard, I think. Maybe Hiveguard would have loved to have Quinn on that team. But yeah,
Don't give them any ideas.
Sorry, what was that?
So don't give them any ideas.
Well, I'm trying to get the team back together, so I'm not trying to give too many ideas. 6 playoff teams have former pilots from those two squads, as you just said, which brought together the Laser Ranger Star Brigade. A bit of players who want to take a little more casual from the randos, CA Thunder, some of the pilots wanting to find new pastures, Medic looking to kind of be the lead support in a team. So they came together, built Starlight Brigade, and that team has found some success this season. We'll see how they go in the playoffs. But I think the big talking point this season was the new format. Groups are gone, and we went to a sort of pseudo play most of the other teams in a group. I for one was not a fan of the grouping of the teams. I think we probably could have done a better job of bracketing them into 3 different groups or 2 different groups based upon how the season went. But I know it was the first time this season that we did it. I think in terms of the shrinking league, it helped in terms of more variety in the games. But I mean, Tiny, how did you feel about this new format? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I honestly liked it a lot. I felt like I was able to get more matches in when I was playing. It felt like the casts were longer when we were streaming games. Um, it was a little bit different format because it wasn't like, yeah, you had a best 2 out of 3 or anything like that. But the fact that every single match you had an incentive to win, even if you were down 3-0, I really liked that factor specifically because it means that, well, yes, you're losing 3 matches. It's still important to win that last one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the 4 game format was fine. A lot of the teams buckled down and kept it to about an hour-ish, which was good. Very few teams dragged it. Scott, what did you think about the season's format?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the two best of twos format we had, I liked it a lot. I liked it's like you're gonna sit down, warm up for an hour, and then play 2 games, and it's over in 20-30 minutes. It kind of was underwhelming. So I really liked the best of twos. In terms of like playing everybody in the league, it was okay, but I agree we could have done a better job bracketing the team. I think some of the teams towards the bottom of the bracket got kind of a rough shake, and I don't really want to discourage anyone from leaving the league at the moment.
Yeah, and
it seemed like
go ahead.
It seemed like teams that weren't as serious as, say, like the Randalorians or Cab were being paired with teams that were of that higher level. And honestly, I saw a couple games that were just absolute stomp matches.
Yeah, and I think especially with the end of the season playoffs, it definitely created a lot of chaos because there were some teams towards the middle and the bottom that didn't play each other, and I understand why we can't do Swiss. It's hard because if you only give everyone a week, you're gonna get teams that are gonna drag their feet or whatever. But I think looking at maybe a mixture of using like groups of blocks of games and then reorganizing the next set, then doing another block of games and doing a final third of games, I think it might be better because it would have given more priority to some of the games toward the end of the season in terms of making the playoffs. And to your point, Tiny, you're still going to have the Stomp Fest because the idea is you want to play every team, but I think we'd have more matches against evenly keel teams because I know us with the Kansas Striders, we definitely were saying, oh man, we should have played. If we had played this team, and this team, it might not have been so close getting the playoffs if we had won those matches. Not saying we would have won those matches if we had won those matches versus where early on we played random. We didn't play randos. We played Niwi, we played Cab. We played a lot of teams that were like, oh man, we never would have played these teams, and it made it kind of difficult. So I definitely can empathize with some of the teams more in the middle and the bottom in this. So hopefully next season we figure it out. And actually, let me go to the bracket here. Hope we can figure it out. And speaking of teams that snuck in and out, it looks like definitely it came down to the wire. A lot of teams were finishing their games literally on Saturday and Sunday. I think the talk of the weekend was Crone and Kenton Striders making the playoffs, just edging out past the Rebel Alliance and Savrip. And definitely for me, it was bittersweet. I'm glad the Kenton Striders made it, but TRA had a very phenomenal season, in my opinion. I was hoping that they would also be one of the other teams. I'm not discouraging Crone. Crone also had a phenomenal season. I think, it was very close towards the middle. And looking at some of the standings here, it looks like Cavern Angels, LSS, had picked up wins this season, which is good. They had a couple draws. It looks like they were playing a lot stronger. Tangerine coming back for the first time in a long time. I know we flew them earlier. They are still kind of shaking off the rust, but I can see the sparks of brilliance there. I'm hoping they stay together for next season and kind of get back to speed kind of deal. The Laser Rangers finishing in 13th, kind of leading towards the like the middle bottom of that pack. So I'm hoping that they will come back and keep to edge those things out. But the top of the bracket looks very similar to last season. Starlight Brigade doing very well, finishing above Hellporgs. Hive Guard just finishing below Siren again. Hopefully that it will be to their benefit this time. Idiots Array climbing higher from where they started, finishing 4th as opposed to in the middle of the pack, trailing just GMT Blue and Randalorians. Share with you, Ska, your thoughts looking at the brackets and seedings. How did you think the teams did here, and what were your surprises going into these playoffs?
I mean, it played out as I would sort of guess. Like, if you were to give me like the top 8 or so teams, I would have ordered them this way at the beginning of the season, ish, vaguely in this sort of manner. The biggest surprise, I mean, I'm surprised Crone made the playoffs. I'm very happily surprised about that. They've been putting in work, and it's paying off, I think. The biggest surprise was like me looking at the what do you call it, the standings like a week ago, and I didn't even like consider Quintanas Traders like had a snowball's chance in hell of making it, and I still don't exactly know what happened, but congrats.
Yeah,
did y'all 4-0 somebody yesterday?
No, well, we did by virtue of they couldn't field the team. Savrop, unfortunately, was the victim of basically a series forfeit because they couldn't field the team for this weekend. And we were trying to get this match, and I didn't want to dodge the Savrop squadron. Of course, I was offering them three subs, but they just couldn't field. They were struggling to get 2 of their own players, and it wasn't looking good. So they unfortunately had the 4-0. And I want to roll back to your point about Crone. We did fly the middle this season. They 4-0'd us, and they looked very sharp with how they played. I will say that they need to, when we get to it, they're going to need to dial in some things, but they're looking like a very dangerous team. And for their matchup against Hellporgs, I think they have to be the Hellporgs to be very cautious about playing Crone, in my opinion. But before we go to that, Tiny, what are your thoughts on looking at this bracket? Any surprises here? Any thoughts about how the season played out?
So there was one particular match where Savrop was needing a sub, and I was around and was able to play with them. And in all honesty, I'm surprised to see Savrop 12th on the board. I thought they would be a little bit higher. But for the most part, I mean, Randalorian's up top, Cap is second. I'm surprised that Siren isn't third. I thought they'd be a bit higher, but other than that seems about what I would have guessed as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect the Siren to have been 4th, but I mean, agree. Like, yeah, the top, like a little bit, like 4 to 7 or 4 to 6 could be a little bit reorganized depending on how things shake up. But yeah, I agree with you. And I'll tell you what, Savrop had a very strong team on paper. I think obviously with JP, it always depends on how he's feeling. Some games I flew with them; it was basically all MAMEs the entire time. I think we got 0-4'd, but we had fun doing it. But other games I've seen Savrop dial it in and go for the win, right? So I think it was just inconsistency on their part, and JP really wasn't trying to make the playoffs anyway, so it wasn't something that they were taking seriously. I just want to go back to the Rebel Alliance, because what I'm hearing is this might have been their final season, and they had a very great season. So my hope is that Ghost, you guys get some guys together. Mike Skates, I think, was definitely I actually want to go to that next thing. Mike Skates, because they're the top one here on this Bad Batch slide. Mike Skates had a phenomenal season, in my opinion. And, I think a lot of people kind of look at him as the weak link on the team. In our game against them, he had 2 phenomenal games where he was able to get in, get his marks off, get the resupplies in. I think that team, I know that there's a little burnout on that team. I'm hoping that with a month off to kind of reassess, because I really do believe they have the talent to be a much better team than they have been in the past and be a playoff competitor. So I'm really hoping that that team doesn't fall apart in this off season. Savrop, of course, isn't the Savrop we know. I'm hoping that will be a different Savrop coming next season. And then the bottom 4 Laser Rangers had another great strong season. I'm hoping they keep stepping it up. That Doc Lice and team have done a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of continue to develop in this game and become stronger pilots. I already said my things about Tangerine. See, Jade as well. I think they stole a game off
Yeah.
of. Scott, who did they steal the game off of?
Us.
No, but I mean, like to CA Jade, I feel CA Jade knows what they need to do to be successful, and it goes as far down to Blackheart. Blackheart kind of started as a dogfight specialist, and his group came in, merged with some of the other players that were looking for a teammate, CA Jade. And they are really honing in on the meta side of things. And I know that they don't have the advantages some of us had of playing in the solo queue and learning that, but they're really trying to learn it. And, I just think that I really think that if they just focused on some of their mechanical abilities and clean up their mechanical play, meta-wise, they know it. They can do it, and they can get there. And I think that's the same for LSS, BSS. Same thing. Just honing on the mechanical play, clean it up a lot more. Jay Silence and team have done a phenomenal job of maximizing their meta. And it's just a matter of working and kind of, unfortunately, this late in the game, grinding, something which can be very hard for them to do, but just clean up their mechanical play. And there'll be chances for playoff spots, in my opinion. I know I said that last season, but they look tougher this season. All these teams here look tougher this season, in my opinion. Scott, I mean, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Jade is good. They've got some good players. They're, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like the last, like, they were the team that was like the last team always, like, stack always queuing on the ladder when nobody else is queuing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and whoever reluctantly come in, like, they're actually, like, they surprise me sometimes. But the biggest surprise, honestly, this season is, like, if you go back one slide, like, and look at their record, I'm surprised it's, like, not better, honestly. Like, I think they're way better than 1-12-5. That's shockingly low. I don't understand what happened there.
Well, no, but
I think they're better than that.
But here's the thing: I think the 5 is the important part. That means they are splitting games against the teams they are playing, right? So
yeah,
that comes with experience, in my opinion. Is that, and this is something that I said to the Kitten Striders in the 3 seasons that I've run them. Let's be ruthless, guys, and I think CAJ just needs to have that ruthlessness to them. And it's not that they don't know how to be it. It's just, it comes with playing enough that you have the confidence to say, we're going for the win, as opposed to playing it safe sometimes, right? And I think that's teams, especially teams in the top, know when they have to say, okay, we have to go for the win here because a defense will not win us this game, right? And I think moments like that is what CAJ just needs to kind of turn the switch the other way and say, we're going to go for it and win those games.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good overview of the situation there, because like it doesn't seem like they're far off.
Yeah, I honestly think I'm surprised that they weren't fighting in the 12th spot for the season. But with you, I think they might do it next season. I think they just need to have that confidence boost. And I am saying to them, they should play with a little bit of swagger. They really should play that they belong here. And I think they will start winning more of those closer games. And that 1-12-5 will look more like 6-9-3 or 7-11-0 kind of deal from some of the teams that were just squeaking into the playoffs kind of situation. And like I said, with clean up mechanical play, you never know. They could be the next Starlight Brigade trying to fight into that like mid-pack kind of deal. Tiny, your thoughts on these bottom teams and what you could expect from them next season?
Well, I don't have much to say. I didn't cast very many of their matches, as well as I honestly don't have that great a memory. Every time I go up against a team, about a week later, I'm like, wait, we had a match?
That's okay. I mean,
just keep practicing, keep doing it. Eventually, you'll figure it out and get good.
Yeah, and
that's the best I can say.
Yeah, and I really, I'm hoping that they don't get discouraged, because they really had some growth in the last 2 seasons. So I'm hoping that will come together. But let's get to the playoffs.
Well, right before that, let's just shout out to Black Boxwater and BSS. They're wonderful human beings. We didn't play them this season, and I don't think I saw any of their games casted because they are a European team, so I normally am not watching at that point in time. But like they do a great job of like holding down like the European scene like during some of those hours in the middle of the week, and are just like an anchor. Just a great community, and I hope they continue on.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they're great too. I mean, Jay Silence is actually running an event. He just announced it, so if you're in the 5-man server, in the club announcement, they're running another event for a small tournament for some of the newer players. So definitely go out there. They are looking for more experienced players as well to play. Let's see. Okay, so the playoffs. So in the play-ins, we have the Hellporgs Niwi Crone matchup. Winner will take on the Randalorians. And the bottom, Laser Ranger Starlight Braid versus Kitten Strider. A little bit of bad blood there, as Medic will be facing his former team. Winner will go on to face CA Blue. In the rest of the quarterfinals, Niwi Siren will take on Idiot's Array. Niwi Siren looking to break the curse and get into that semifinals matchup, right? And then GMT will take on Hive Guard in what Hive Guard was hoping to be last season's semifinals, but unfortunately they lost to Savrip, and then Savrip went on to face GMT before heading to the finals. Guys, before we go into the team previews, anything here looking juicy to you? What are you thinking here? Let's start with you, Tiny. Any matchup here in particular you're looking forward to?
I'm particularly looking forward to that Kinten versus Laser Ranger Starlight Brigade.
Personal reasons.
Particular reasons.
Personal reasons.
Actually, entirely personal reasons. I'm looking forward to that match. I'm also looking forward to the GMT Hive Guard match. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think GMT Hive Guard will definitely be interesting. Hive Guard, and we'll go into this, a very straightforward 2-2-1 team. GMT, that PK team. That will definitely be interesting to see if Hive Guard can dial it in. Ska, what match here are you looking forward to the most?
Looking forward to, I'm interested in Hellporgs and Crone. I never know what Crone's going to show up, so I'm excited to see what'll happen there. Kintan versus Laser Rangers Squadron Boys. That'll be good. The whole bottom of the bracket looks interesting. TBD Siren, I'm not looking forward to it because I hate tractor beams. But I will certainly be there.
But that's actually the matchup I'm looking most forward to. TBD kind of playing the chaos angle versus you guys, and you guys have played off meta. But again, we'll go into this. So I'm thinking that might be a little bit of a juicy matchup in terms of 5 games of unpredictability, in terms of especially the ends with the base racing. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, let's go over these teams. We'll start at the bottom. I clicked away here. I'll start at the bottom. The Kinten Striders just sneaking into the playoffs on a strong finish with the season. Yes, a little bit of help from the Savrips on the forfeit, but they did finish their last couple matches very well. The team started off looking 2-2-1, but mid-season they decided to change it up because it wasn't working. Went into some off-meta play, brought out the Beaming with Zultry, and they put Rob into the Interceptor, showing some very, very promising results there. I think for me, especially, the Kinten Striders cannot make major mistakes. They have very tight windows in terms of their opportunities, especially against teams in front of them. So they have to make sure that their play is clean. Of course, with everyone, you have to win the Open, but if they lose the Open, they have to make sure their defenses are tight and try and make up time there. And maybe, for me, this is the season that everyone notices Sam Soren popping off. Sam is one of 3 players on the team that have multi-rolled. Sam has played both Bomber and support for the Kinten Striders, and his support play has been phenomenal with the B-Wing pairing. So for me, the key for Kinten Striders' B-Wing play is through Sam Soren in terms of keeping the B-Wing protected and also making sure his Y-Wings stay alive. Why don't we go to Tiny first? Tiny, what are your thoughts on the Kinten Striders and their playoff chances?
I can definitely agree that we need to keep things tight. We can't make very many mistakes. Having more strategies than just the 2-2-1 plays definitely kept things interesting, as well as it helps us mix things up when we're going against a team that is either trying to expect the 2-2-1 play or is just in general trying to predict what we want to do. But it only takes one match of us everything going perfectly for us to really, really pop off.
Yeah,
they're not a team you want to underestimate by no means.
Yep. No, I mean it's funny because not making major mistakes is everyone's concern, but I think for a team, especially at this caliber playing the off meta, you have to make sure that you don't you don't give the other team an opportunity to come back into the match, right? Scott, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on the Kitten Striders?
First, they have my favorite Plas burst X-Wing pilot in the league, Tiny Dragons. Second, I'm really glad that y'all have finally stopped being a slave to the 2-2-1 meta. That's so refreshing to see, leaning into your strengths of players, not just trying to play like the quote unquote right way to play. Like putting Rob into the interceptor, like yes, love it. Like leaning into what people are good at, not just what they should like good quote unquote be doing. Is I don't know. I think it's good for everyone to do, but especially you have Rob. He's like this phenomenal PK pilot who's got like insane aim and like PK. I don't know what the word is, but like he's got the feeling. He knows how to do it. The force is with him, and to put him into like a ship to shoot the big ships seems like a waste. So I'm so glad that y'all are embracing your Agent Rob's strength.
And I'll say this, and Rob will say this a lot. It's the interceptor is still an objective ship. It can do damage because
I know
it's overcharged all the time, right? So it can still do damage. And I'm hoping my hope this season was, and this is something I've been wanting to do for 3 seasons. I just never had the opportunity because I didn't come back to the Kids and Striders for 3 seasons. Was that I'm like Rob every season, Rob, you gotta be an interceptor. I think we're wasting your opportunity here by not pairing you with an Iron Defender. And since I was able to come back this season and I have played the Iron Defender, and it's more to my strength than Tiny's strength because Tiny is very good, like you said, the Plas burst. I'm like, let's try this. Let's mix it up. Early in the season we were struggling with the 2-2-1, and I'm like, okay, guys, I think you guys know what to do here, but let's change it up. Right? And then all of a sudden, Rob was popping off. And not only for our team, when he was backfilling for Savrip or covering in like scrims, he was popping off for every match. I'm like, man, I think other teams are missing the trick here. This is where you bring back, and Jester stopped in once in a while, but even Sika, I'm like, maybe when Sika was playing all these seasons, they weren't playing to Sika's strength. And maybe, bring Sika back, Jester back for some of these teams saying, hey guys, why don't you play Interceptor for us? Be a specialist and play in these matches because Sitka and Jester are other players that have the same accuracy as Rob. And there's something there with it, and I agree with you. And I'm hoping next season some other teams begin to look at that as an alternative play. Now, I'm not saying it works in every map, but it's definitely something to think about in those. And, I'm kind of advocating for some of these old players to come back because they think that, the Interceptor is not usable anymore. I disagree. Yeah, so guys, any other thoughts on Kindred Striders before we go to the next team here?
Nope, none for me.
Okay, let's talk about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Tiny.
I was going to say, biases aside, I like the team. They're pretty cool.
I'm hoping that we can turn some heads against our opponents. But let's talk about Crone first. Like you said, Scott, back in the room after many seasons in the wilderness, they're always just missing out every season. I think part of that is Trevor changed his support 2 seasons ago, was trying to dial in his play, and I think this season, as you put into the slide, was the season he finally dialed it in. Mishka and Raven have clicked as a PK pair. They're very consistent now. They can put the pressure on, they can get the damage in and protect the bombers when the bombers are struggling. And they are doing very well in my opinion. I think their biggest weakness is definitely just trying to make sure that they stay present. I mean, make the closing remark of burn rare, not to burn rare, but staying present in the objective race. Especially, they can sometimes get caught PKing too much, and that's sometimes a bad thing. So I think Crone, if they just stay present in the match, get those picks when they can get them, but then get the objective damage done, they could possibly surprise the Hellporgs, in my opinion. Scott, what do you think about Crone here?
Oh, these are my people. I think, yeah. I mean, like, yeah. In one way, I sort of agree that, like, maybe they should do OBJ and not focus on picks so much. But on the other hand, like, that's sort of their philosophy. It's like we're going to PK you and let passive damage do the work. We're going to take control of like the pace of the match. We're gonna try to get morale that way. That's just like how they want to do things, and they're just not super interested in any other like any sort of like mainstream philosophy. And I think Trevor moving to support which is good, because after Marine retired, it was like there was a big gaping hole there that like was a big weakness. And now Trevor moving away, despite the fact that he's a good flex, a great flex, into that role has just like I think solidified the team a good bit. And then my girl Raven is playing like every night with everybody.
Yes.
In everything. And so like, yeah, like she's way better than she was last season, and she was way better last season than she was the season before that. So, I mean, they're just like they're getting better, and they are starting to, I think, figure out a more consistent core group of players that play with like Graf and Martian. So that with that like consistency, I think is coming some success that they just haven't had since the bulk of like the Crone, not like the original Crone, but like the Crone that has like Marine and Head Fencer and Trev and like DeGreen. Like, that Crone is gone, and in its place, like there was a couple seasons of rebuilding, and now they're like in a spot where I think they have consistency and identity, and yeah, they should I don't know, I love them. They're great. I hope they win.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything you just said. And in a way, sticking to identity is what got them this far. So it's kind of backhanded to say, maybe bring it back a little bit, but definitely I agree with you. Like, they know what's working. They just, I guess in my mind, it's kind of like, well, it's been working at what they're at the level of some of the teams I'm playing at. But as some of the more evasive pilots come in, it's kind of like, when do we turn off? But we'll see. We'll see if we'll see how they want to make the adjustments, right? Because to your point, they're having fun playing this game. They're having fun doing it. But is the playoffs the time when they're like, oh, we want to win this? Or is it more like, just keep doing what we're doing and just see how far it takes? This kind of attitude, right? And that's kind of like the next team we're going to talk about. That's kind of been somewhat their attitude. They do want to win, but they still want to have fun what they're doing. But before we go to the next team, Tiny, any thoughts from you on Niwi Crone and what they've been doing this season and their keys to success?
They just seem like a good team. Like I said, I'm not great with memory, but every time that I've seen a match against Crone, it's very clear that whoever their opponent is, they're able to keep up with them. They're able to make adjustments. They're able to make smart plays. They're not just a team that they have a plan, they're going to stick to it, and they just completely ignore what their opponent's doing. No, they keep tabs on what's up, and they're able to make those calls mid-matches.
Oh, so you think that? Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I mean, and I think you've covered a lot more games than I have. This, well, you definitely have. So I mean, yeah, I mean, that's interesting insight. We'll see how Crone adjusts. They have a very spicy matchup against the perennial play-inners, the Gray Squadron Hellporgs.
I want you to know that I did not change that first bullet. I think I was like, well, are they 8th seed again? They are the 8th seed again, so I left it there.
Yeah, so I had to look up who they played last season. It was CA Thunder. I think they played CA Thunder the season before. And that was kind of
they always play CA Thunder.
So it was kind of the joke that, like, I think they wanted Laser Ranger Solid Brigade because they kind of wanted that third season of playing the same opponent again. Right, you said there's that very fixed outcome kind of deal happening here. But you said 8th seed are Marcelo, once again, just getting better and better every season, looking dangerous as a PK player. They took games off Siren and TBD, so the strength of their play is there. I know that they've been looking at the Triple Bomber again this season to try and drive up the objective damage. So this is why I think the match against Crone will be very interesting. But before I get into that, I definitely think that, once again, Hellporg's success in the playoffs will be driven by their support play, whether it be Jito or Fame in the support. It's going to be very important of making sure that their support gets in, gets beacons, gets resupplies, keeps the momentum up for the game, and not giving up morale, essentially, right? And we've seen it occasionally that Jito kind of loses his mind in the moment, gets into a bad position, and gives up a free kill when they needed him in, right? So whether it be, again, Jito or Fame, they really need to make sure that they're dialed in for this matchup against Crone, because Crone is going to be bringing the PK. They're going to be looking for their kills, and they're not going to let off the gas pedal, per se. So if the Porgs want to make it to the quarterfinals again, they're going to have to make sure that their supports get in so that they can get the damage done. Tiny, what are your thoughts here? We'll start with you, with the Porgs. What do you think?
Well, it's definitely an interesting strategy to have that OBJ-focused team as opposed to doing a PK-focused team like some of the others we have here in the playoffs. I'm curious to see how they'll be able to handle the teams that are more PK-focused. Just with my own experience, when you're trying to just strictly run OBJ and you are facing that PK team, it can be really hard to get work done.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see how they react to that and are able to adapt and handle.
Yeah, and that's a great comment, and that's why that's why I brought it up, because Crone being a PK oriented team, it's going to be a very chaotic game. And then going back to the support, which means that Jito or Fame has to make sure that, you know, they're still getting their work done. And Fame just made the comment out across the midline. I mean, yeah, they're going to have to, right, to get the beacons in, because if it's just throwing out resupplies, it might. Maybe it's enough, maybe it's not enough. But, you know, Crone can pick off those bombers, and if they get 1 or 2 picks on the bombers and the beacons aren't coming in, that's a damage slowdown, right? So Hellporgs have a lot of tactical thoughts to go into this game. It's going to be one of their hardest playoff matches in a long time, so they definitely have to be prepared, I would say. Ska, what are your thoughts on the Porgs?
I hate playing the Porgs. I really do. I always feel like they are solid. Like I go into the game thinking like, okay, we can do this. We're gonna like get a pick on their support, and then it's gonna snowball. We're gonna win, and then like it just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
they're more solid. I think. So you know they had this Porg period for a while. They were fine, and then Fame comes in and they're better, but they're not like clicking as much. And I think now that Fame's been on the Porgs for like a season or two now, or this is third season on the Porgs? Third season on the Porgs.
Third season, I think.
But I really feel like they're clicking a good bit. They're a team that like can get, if they get ahead, it is difficult to come back on them because they have strong OBJ, and Marcello can disrupt extremely well, and like just kind of go off on his own and do his own thing. And then the last thing I'll say is that they don't, having two support players with like opposite identities, like having the aggro Jito and the conservative Fame, really you feel like you're playing two different teams sometimes, and it's hard to get to a flow against that. But I don't know, Porgs are good. I think they're sneaky good. They took a game off of us this season. They almost took 2 games off of us. We had to like kill our way back on Nadiri in like one of like the hardest games that we've played in a long time to like just scrape a win from the jaws of defeat. They are very good, and I don't know. I would like, I want Crone to win, but like beating this Porgs team is going to be a really big challenge.
Yeah, and I mean you're right, because I mean and having played them in the past, like they will hit their objective marks to the number, right? So, like you said, disrupting their play is the best way to stop them, but Marcelo can definitely counter on the opposite end. Marcelo can get picks on the Y-Wings or the Bombers and slow down the opposing team's farm to slow down, to open up their offense, right? And if they add 20 seconds to each of their offenses through Marcelo just buying time, like it's hard to catch up to their objective damage, in my opinion. And, you know, like you said, you expect good things out of this team. It's just they have to play strong and solidly. And disruption of the Porgs' game plan is the best route to defeating them. So we'll see. I think Crone will be their first big test. And of course, they have the Randalorians ahead of them, which is going to be a very tall order. So we'll see if the Porgs will make it to the next round. But again, this should be a spicy one. I think people are saying it's Friday. I do have it at the end of my slides here when this matchup is. So definitely come out and see that match. I think it'll be definitely one full of fireworks, if you will. Let's go to the next team here. Laser Ranger Starlight Brigade, first season, made up of former State Thunder and Savrit players. Medic playing support here, leading the line, and then they have, of course, that strong flex core from CA Thunder. They're struggling. Sorry, I'm just reading through your notes. They've been struggling to field their team in the second half, especially because they have a European and an Australian who makes up a bulk of their objective core. So they've been trying just to keep it up. In fact, right now I think that they're going to have a sub for our match, which I'm about to give them a message after this because I'm pretty sure we cannot play Friday, so our match will be Thursday. But yeah, they fly typical 2-2-1 meta. They have tried some off-brand run, but it seems like they'll be a meta team going into the playoffs. You have a note that's my note. I think they need to PK in defenders more. They need to disrupt the opponent's farm at critical moments. And this goes to my next point, must handle edge cases better. I think they need to be present when they're behind in the game, in terms of trying to buy time back. I've seen that their defenders will shoot at the bombers or Y-wings, but then go and do the objective damage instead of trying to buy more seconds that way in some of the matches I've observed. But more importantly, and the must handle edge cases better, I've seen them struggle through out of phases. I've seen them in situations which aren't typical, kind of look flustered or confused. I'm hoping that they put the work in order to make sure that they focus on completing or at least performing some of these edge cases in a satisfactory manner to win games. Otherwise, they could be looking at some unfortunate defeats, and it only takes 3 of them in the same match to end out the playoffs. Scott, what are your thoughts here with Laser Rangers Starlight Brigade?
Oh, I love this team. Such and Rev are incredible. I think Pally's been busy and hasn't been able to play the second half of the season, but the Flex team is strong. Medic's obviously the best player in the world. Eldrin is back. He missed a good part of the season, but he is back. I see he played yesterday in the scrim that I was in. I think you were in as well.
Yeah.
So that is great news for them. That solidifies their OBJ side a lot. They're struggling, I think, with them out a little bit. I'm not sure. I feel like Biker was on this team, and I haven't seen him in a while. Maybe he's out. And then there's Staffy, obviously. My biggest thought is like they are a team that is as talented, if not more talented, than like the Hive Guards and Sirens and whoever TBD at that level. But like this is their first season playing together. It's like a new team, it's a new identity, and like they're just like not gelling as you won't, because like they're playing teams that have been together for 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. Like they just haven't been around that long.
Do you think they don't have their flow down quite yet?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think their flow is down. Their decision making, their how they want to take stuff from the meta and how they don't. And then like the last thing is like you got Rev and Suchi and standard defenders, and they're shooting the big ships.
Yep, and that's my comment about PK more. If you're gonna do that, then just put pressure on the Y-wings and just stop the farm.
so absurdly good at killing people as a team. Like the two of them,
standards are fantastic for killing players, but they're just so slow at killing frigates and all the objection damage.
Yeah.
Like they get on me in a match, and I'm just like, well, I guess I'm dead. Like that's it. They're just I'm dead.
That's about it. Yeah.
And the funny part is, I think the counter to that is like I've seen them kind of get blinded as well, where they can taste the kill, and a very evasive Y-wing or bomber pilot, they'll get the kill, but then they've spent 60 seconds doing it, and meanwhile, nothing else is. They weren't helping in other ways that they need to help, right? So I think. It's funny, as much as I said PK and defenders more, they just need to they need to be flexible. And I seem to kind of be rigid in their decision-making and gameplay, which goes back to your point of new team, new identity. They're still trying to figure out their flow. So we'll see if they make the adjustment into the playoffs. And, the Kitten Striders are a very seasoned team, and their shot caller knows kind of how to adjust in the moment to some of these moments, right? So you're playing against a team that will adjust to what you're doing and whether they're ahead or behind in the counter, right? So they have to kind of counter the the counters coming from their opponents here, and it only get harder as the playoffs goes on. So should they beat the Kansas Striders, they'll be playing against teams that are very seasoned in disrupting game flow, and they need to find a way to, in the moment, recognize it and adjust.
That sounds like that first match between Kintan and Laser Rangers. It's going to be a seasoned team that maybe is lower on the board versus a team that's full of talented players but don't quite have their flow together. So it's going to be a matter of, can Kintan minimize their mistakes versus can Laser Rangers adjust to what Kintan is trying to do?
Yeah, exactly. And yes, Maze, I was talking about myself. Of course I was talking about myself.
Not to pat yourself on the back or anything.
It's Caster Rebel talking about Player Rebel. Come on, it's two different people. But yeah, I mean, you make a great point. Tiny, and this will be I think this will be a very cagey matchup. On paper, I know a lot of people are going to say Laser Rangers 3-0, but when we get to that, I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as that. But if the Laser Rangers do come out firing, do focus on how they're supposed to win, yes, on paper, it should be a 3-0 for them in the first matchup, and they should definitely be competitive against Cab in the quarterfinals should they make it there, right? But before we go to the next team, Tiny, any other thoughts from you on this team?
I wish them the best of luck. They're gonna need it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this matchup.
All I have to say.
I am looking forward to this matchup. It should be a good one, and I know it's a little bit personal. It's a little bit personal with Medic playing against us, so we'll see how it goes, right? Let's go to team 6, the Hive Guard. This season they added Time Bomb and Corbolt from formerly Kitten Striders. They've done the business against the teams they should. They've continued to have success against the teams above them. They're another one of those straight 2-2-1 teams. Play very, I don't want to say rigidly, but they play very much to meta. And to your point here, Scott, they definitely have to find a way to shake things up and throw the timing off of their opposing teams, especially the ones that have ways of shaking up their meta play. So in order for in my opinion, for Hive Guard to succeed, whether it be they stay with the 2-2-1, but maybe PK more, or maybe find ways to get more damage in, they really have to find a way to get their timings in a way that is more favorable for them. Because if they lose the open, then it's an uphill battle for them in terms of an objective race. So finding out where they need to be and whatever is going to be very important. And hopefully they are practicing tonight. Instead of playing Helldivers 2, right? But I think the Helldivers 2 thing is a problem with a lot of teams in the season right now. I think Helldivers 2 is killing the scene. But Tiny, what are your thoughts here on Hive Guard?
I unfortunately don't have much to add. Scott, do you have anything?
Yeah. So first of all, I think must find ways to throw off opponents is your notes because they throw me off plenty. I think they've evolved this season. They're shooting the opposing team way more. I think last season and then especially this season they are doing pretty well. Corbolt is looking great. Time Bomb being added just sort of buffs up that OBJ core. So they have Crazy D, Crazed, Time Bomb, Corbolt, and Maze. And then Maze is finding some support too, because Dick Willie's been gone. And then they have the 3 great, core flex team. Like they're a good team right now. We'll see how it goes, but they're good. They just Maze said they have played they've practiced the least they've ever practiced before this season. It's probably because Helldivers, but they're good. They're good.
Yeah, no, I mean I don't disagree with that. I mean it's gonna come into the prep. I mean they're a team that mechanically doesn't need to practice as much, right? Because they're all very talented pilots, but the prep needs to be there, and we'll see if they're gonna put the prep in for the playoffs or if they're gonna keep trying to protect democracy here. So I guess that matchup will determine how much they're gonna prep coming into this game. And I will have to look back. I can't remember who exactly they were facing.
They are facing GMT.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that. Then they need a lot of prep. Let's go to the next team, Siren Squadron. You guys added Pseudo 9 this season. I think you added more than Pseudo 9, actually, right?
No, just Pseudo.
Just Pseudo. Yeah, you guys. I mean, you guys have. You're the one team that was already shaking up the meta seasons before, and you're just adding more shake up in your lineup play to confuse opponents and try and catch advantages that way. Yep, Kitster, yeah, the has switched the flex more, though Kitster, of course, in the playoffs could always go back and play bomber should the need arise. You want to break your 5 wise game. But yeah, I mean, overall, you guys have been very strong. Pseudo has found the niche with Barry. Barry, of course, being a very strong objective player, and it's when you come up against you guys, even with the map picks, it's not enough. It's hard to determine who's gonna line up. I mean, some pilots is a little bit easier to predict than others in your lineup. So it takes a lot of preparation against you guys because we have to look at the 5 that are coming up and then start to make determinations based upon that, which is a great advantage for you guys because I know it caught us off in our game earlier this season where me and Rob started the Iron Defender squint and we were ready to catch both your B wings, which is smart, but you guys held back smartly to let your Y wings get some work in to win the open, which after the game I sat there and said, we made a mistake. We should just went for the Y wings anyway, even though we knew the B wings were coming. You guys know how to take advantage of your off meta play. And hopefully you find success in the playoffs this season, maybe a semifinal appearance, if not a finals appearance because of it. Ska, will you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, first of all, I'm sorry for the typo. I should say than. Then, not than, then.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's been a different season. We had so many seasons of just like the 6 of us and like the same roles. And Kitster moving and adding Pseudo has like really shaken up the team a good bit. I think it's taken us a little bit to like get our feet under us. I think towards the last few weeks of the season, we started to click a good bit. We struggled, I think, in the middle earlier on in the season, but like we've got more strategies, things are coming along, we're clicking a good bit. Barry's really been like the guy on our OBJ team, which I greatly appreciate, him stepping up there.
Oh yeah, Barry's done great this season.
Yeah, and it's been great having Pseudo on the team. They've been wonderful. And yeah, I don't know. We have not ever won a playoff series. And some of that's like due to the fact that like we have a great, regular season and we're like a pretty high seed. Then we face a good team early on and lose. But like we have never won a playoff series, so we would like to win one. I don't want to look ahead and past that though.
Yeah, no, and that's fair, right? I mean, that's a good mentality. One series at a time. I think, and to be fair to you guys, the mid-season doldrums kind of was not so much more that you guys. I don't know if you guys were struggling. You guys were clearly trying to work some different things out, and when you're trying new strategies in the midst of a playoff fight, it could lead to some games that don't go your way, right? But I think I have a feeling you guys will dial it in, play the way that you need to play, and as you just said, you guys are looking for your first playoff win, series win. So I'm expecting you guys to really tune it in and try and find the success there, at least in the quarterfinals. Yeah, so Tiny, and your thoughts on Siren Squadron here?
Right now, when I think of a Niwi Siren, the thing I think about is I think it was either last week or the week before there was a match I casted against Hiveguard, I believe. And honestly, it seemed that we were doing dogfighting first and OBJ second. It was an absolute bloodbath. There were over, I think, somewhere between 15 and 20 kills per game.
Oh my god.
It was crazy.
Yeah, because Hiveguard's a PK team now.
I think that's more Hiveguard, and back to my comment. I think that's Hiveguard just trying to keep up with you guys because when you guys bring out the double B wing, right? I think people don't expect the PK. Then all of a sudden you have 2 B wings on you shooting at you, like, oh god, and then that's a lot. That's a lot of damage without it being expected. Plus with ions, shields are going down
pretty quick.
Yeah. So it definitely, like I said, it goes back to being present of who's lining up on the other side, because then you guys also have Autumn in the A wing, and you could throw that B wing, A wing support mix up, and the A wing just needs to get the lasers on once the shields are down, and it's a cleanup, right? So definitely there's flexibility in your guys' lineup. It's just a matter of being in the right ship at the right time for you guys. And I know you've worked it out this season, so I'm excited to see how this matchup goes, because it's always fun to watch you guys play. So because you never know what to expect coming out, and even the double B-wing, sometimes you think bombs are coming, but maybe it's double torps, and it's like, oh crap, we're focusing on the wrong ship here kind of deal. So it's definitely interesting to see how you guys will play with the strategies in order to win.
Hope so.
But talking about chaos, Idiot's Array is back at number 4. If we think Trevor's tractor beam gods, I know that Doc loves his tractor beams and will bring it out at the right time. But not only that, they have Hod, and it's just absolute chaos when you fly this team. They don't practice, they don't warm up. It's the team motto. And they definitely, you don't know what to expect, right? You think 2-2-1 is coming, but it's not. And it's kind of like GMT, but in a more chaotic fashion, because GMT, you expect 3 defenders, 4 defenders, and then they're going to switch to a bomber. Here, you never know. You don't know what they're going to fly. And it makes it very difficult, but they do it effectively. They're 4th, right? They're 4th for a reason. And they definitely can change their lineup as the match goes. And yes, I know you guys run a 2-2-1 in some regards. I'm seeing not Atomic
2 U-wings.
Yeah, but 2.
If that's the 2.
Yeah, but exactly. 2 U-wings. It's like, okay, which one is the repair U-wing? And yes, if you do your scouting report, you'll know which one's the repair U-wing. But that doesn't mean that the other U-wing is not helping, right? 2 U-wings, 2 X-wings, and a Y-wing. Like, only on one other team has run 1 Y-wing this season that I have seen in a lineup, and that was Kinton Striders. And, I haven't seen every game, so maybe some other teams are only running 1 Y-wing right now. Oh, no, Randos did run 1 Y-wing when they did the 2 B-wings a couple weeks ago, right? But back to the point, yeah, you guys are saying 2-2-1, but it's not really 2-2-1 because, yeah, maybe it's 2 U-wings, 2 X-wings. Maybe it's 2 U-wings, 2 Y-wings, and an X-wing. Maybe it's 3 U-wings and 2 Y-wings. Like you guys, Idiot's Array, TBD, can definitely do whatever they want, and it throws teams off, but they're successful with it, right? It's more than just being chaotic to be chaotic. It's chaotic to win because no one knows what's going to happen. And I think that this late in the game, that kind of chaos can really throw people's preps off, and now you're adjusting mid-games, and to beat Idiot's Array TBD, you have to be able to adjust mid-game to whatever's happening and dial in order to make sure you're not falling behind the objective damage. And I really think it's a great strategy for them because they have the pilots to do it. Let's just see if they'll see success. Let's see if they're a finalist this season. Tiny, what are your thoughts on Idiot's Array here?
I definitely like how Idiot's Array, they have a wide variety of tools and plays that they have in their back pocket. And honestly, I see a lot of similarity with Idiot's Array and Randalorians. Because the Randalorians, they can run just about anything and make it work. And the Idiot's Array are following in their footsteps. And I'm very curious to see how they enter the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I kind of want to say it's SPL's fault that made this happen. Because we found out how overpowered U-wings can be in SPL. And they brought it here to SCL. And it's holding true again here that U-wings can definitely work and cause some chaos. And having that many good U-wing pilots does help. To your point, Randalorians can do the same thing because they have the talent and the pilots to do it. So, it might be. I think they're on the top half of the bracket against the Randalorians, right? We'll go in a second to look at that. But, it could. These guys are one of my favorites to be finalists. So we'll see what happens. Scott, your thoughts on Idiot's Array?
Yeah, they are versatile. You don't like. Sometimes they come out in heavy PK looks. Sometimes they're an OBJ standard team. When they do fly tractor beams, I think they're like Doc and Cosmo are the best at it. I don't think anyone else is nearly as efficient as they are at like tractor beaming. And
someone clip that for Trevor. Someone clip that for Trevor, so Trevor can have an aneurysm. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor should definitely watch What's Up Doc's compilation. What's Up Doc? What's Up Doc? His compilation of killing me over and over and over again when we played. Like we played them a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and like we finished the game, and it was 2-2 at the end, and like we were all exhausted. It was the worst we felt. Despite like after like one of the wins was the worst we felt.
I remember watching their.
It's exhausting.
I remember watching their first playoff game last season, and I was trying to put myself in their opposing team's shoes. I'm like, man, how do you keep up with this match? Because you're counting off the ships. You think you have it. All of a sudden, the same player you're expecting is a completely different ship, and you're like, what the hell? When did this happen? And now you're trying to get the counts in your head of like, okay, how much damage you're gonna do, whatever. Meanwhile, Idiot's Ray doesn't care about that. They're like, well, let's just get the kills here and then do the damage later kind of deal. Or as you said, no, we're gonna do the damage first and then get the kills when we need them, right? And you're right. That's exhausting because as someone who is like, doing the timer in their head for whether we're ahead or behind this match against Idiot's Array, that's impossible to count because you may be ahead right now, but that doesn't really matter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you never know when it's going to spiral out of control and they're going to kill you like 5 times in a phase.
And I will say, like, especially because of this, they're out of phase. The base races will be the most interesting with these guys because they can go from defense to attack very quickly, and they're confident in the ships that they're in. Whereas, other teams will ship swap in order to be like, okay, I'm defending with a Y-Wing ICT now, but I gotta go an X-Wing to do attack. They'll be like, no, I'm gonna stay in this U-Wing or Reaper, and let's go kill that other ship right now, right? But they're defend first, attack later, or, they're just gonna create chaos, and you just have to figure out how you're gonna get around that chaos. So that's why for me, like, it's gonna be very interesting. And like you said, exhausting is the word. But let's get down to the last 3 teams here, which I think everyone were expecting to be the top 3 teams and probably the favorites for championship material. Finishing in third is GMT. I expected GMT to finish probably higher, and no offense to Cab, but I think GMT's 3.5 defenders was an enlightenment in terms of PK pressure. They've had struggles with their roster. Again, being a European Central team against mostly American teams makes it very difficult for them to schedule matches. Fabian, he hasn't moved. He hasn't been playing OBJ since STD, but he's now focused on OBJ. In terms of his play because they need it. They need another OBJ player there. And for me, I think that they need to keep doing what they're doing. Keep up the offensive pressure to rattle teams, but make sure that offensive pressure comes with PK. This is the team that never stops PKing, just like Idiot's Array. And they are deadly. They're the kind of team that if you sleep on them, they'll find you and they will kill you. And that has been a lot of GMT success. And I think that kind of stress can be very hampering in a long playoffs, especially in a 5-game series. The objective players will be exhausted by games 4 and 5, and that's where GMT can really find their time to shine. God, what are your thoughts on GMT here?
GMT is a weird team where, like, every other playoff team Siren has played and scrimmed multiple times for the last bunch of seasons, and like we haven't played GMT a single time, despite like always being within like a team or 2 of them in like RPI or whatever. Like I think last season we switched A and B every like with each other constantly, so we never actually played. So I don't have like a personal experience playing with them, but like it's anytime you're gonna go up against like Dalek and Foka at the same time, you're gonna have a bad time. And then like they've got Lions, who is, I don't know, probably the best player in all of Squadrons. So I don't know, they're phenomenal, and I think the only reason they didn't finish higher was because like they just had player availability issues.
Yep.
So I mean, like it doesn't matter. We're in the playoffs now. They're as big of a threat as Cab or Randos to win it all.
I mean, yeah, I have nothing to add. I agree with you right there. Tiny, anything for you to add?
I mean, both of you are saying what I'm thinking. GMT is a very difficult team, and going into that match, you got to have your A game on.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, they're very driven players, and in the playoffs they've turned it on. I remember last season the Savrip series was one of the most exhausting series I've ever played in the playoffs, and it took a lot of prep to get ready for them, and we built strategies just to counter them, and it took a lot of effort. So I'm expecting that teams that will have to go up against them have to be ready, because this is a team that just doesn't take much for them to turn on, and when they're turned on, they could be an unstoppable force. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely with GMT, but one team that's looking to oust them, and I think they're in the same bracket from what I remember here. It's going to be Cavern Angels Blue. They picked up Quinn, as you said. Even though Zugzug took a step back, it's the playoffs, and I always know that when the playoffs comes around, someone like Zugzug comes back because they are counting on him to pair with Quinn, especially here. This practice size has been more difficult, and I'm pretty sure some of them are hell diving. Is Big Brain the best sport in the game? A lot of people will definitely debate that. Big Brain is a very difficult player, and I've seen him the last couple of weeks try out different looks, including the tractor beam. I know that may have been off, but it might have some success depending on how they want to look at it, and they could definitely bring it as an off meta kind of extra damage PK kind of deal, and it could have success. I mean, Idiots Ray does it, right? Idiots Ray does do that. They definitely have a large roster. I put the Stabilized Play with the roster carousel. I mean, the answer already is yes. But the question is do they do what they've done in the past, focus some players in certain positions, or will they run the carousel to try and confuse teams and force teams into different looks kind of deal? Blue definitely, in my opinion, another strong candidate to win the championship. They have the roster to do it. It's just a matter if they can make the tactical changes against some of these off-meta teams in order to win it. And I know tactically they can do it, but seeing it on the field will always be the question, especially at the moment of truth. Tiny, your thoughts on Blue? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going blank here. Sorry, it's late for me right now, and I'm like half here because I just got done doing like 2 different
That's fine. No, that's
sports practices.
That's fine, man. And I know we screwed them a lot. We screwed them a lot. So I mean, I've said a lot of what we said in the screen. But how about you, Scott? What do you think about Blue here?
Oh, Cab. I don't know. Cab is like, they're like a team. They're like the anti LSRB. Like they're a team of like good players who are much greater than the sum of their parts when they're flying well. Like they're the team. They're like not the like, oh, we have like a star. I mean, like Rain and Big Brain are obviously both like phenomenal players, obviously, and Quinn. But like they're not like just driven by like, okay, we have like the most elite players in all of SCL. It's like, no, we know our roles, we're good at them, we have like a coordinated team, we know where decisions flow through, we know what each other are gonna do, like we know in certain situations like this is what we need to do to win. And you know, if we take a loss, we'll look back on that and fix that problem, and we'll be the Borg. You know, we'll learn from it immediately and not lose this again. So, and they're not afraid to like make minor changes constantly, not like huge changes to the lineup, but like in who they attack and how they break a strategy. They'll keep poking at you until they get it right. And then I haven't seen too much of Quinn playing with them. Like in theory, it's the worst thing in the world. Like for me as a team that might have to play him eventually, but like because I think Quinn is like the best OBJ player. I mean, she's taken a step back, so I don't know if that's true right now, but like in general, I think she's been like the best OBJ player of the last like 4 or 5 seasons. But I don't know if that's clicking yet. I hope it is. So we'll see how that goes. And then obviously Big Brain seems like he's getting better, which is
scary,
terrifying.
Yeah.
He's already like really good.
Yeah.
So,
I think especially Big Brain's a great example. Like it's for me, Big Brain's focus, right? Big Brain talent wise has been his talent's amazing, right? In the past, his focus, especially in the game, can sometimes meander, and that can put him in the spots they don't need him, and especially at that level, you know, you need to be in the right spots. But this season, he seems like the sharpest he's ever been. And to add to what you're saying, you know, you're exactly right. Blue definitely plays optimally, and they always know how to continue the optimization, keep going. I think the championship season was when I saw them first show a bit of edge to themselves. They seem to definitely be more, you know, like you said, a machine. They kept going, kept fighting, and then just keep optimizing. But sometimes in a championship, you want to have a little bit of edge and like a chip on your shoulder kind of deal. And that season when they won definitely felt like it. And maybe like a little bit championship drunk, you know, a little bit of the aftermath of the championship, they kind of lost that edge. I'm hoping they have it back this season for this playoffs, because they definitely should go to the finals.
Okay, well, yes, they didn't do as well in the playoffs as they wanted to last season, but like they also just like dominated Group A that entire season last season. So I don't know how hungover they were. They were pretty scary coming out.
Yeah, no,
coming out season 10.
In a way, I'm saying it as a challenge per se, because I know that they can do it, right? And I definitely like, especially I think it's because they dominated Group A last season. You kind of, like I said, you lose that spark, because you think I don't want to say you think you deserve that you can win, but you kind of like, oh man, we're gonna win this matchup, right? Especially I remember last season, like the Randalorians coming to the playoffs looked a bit lost, and then they dialed it in, which really pushed Cavern Angels Blue to the brink, and ended up Randalorians winning the championship, right? So I'm hoping that after last season that causes the edge to kind of for Blue to say, okay, let's go back to what we do best and let's win this thing because we deserve to win this championship kind of deal. And they're a team that definitely should be in the finals, and we'll see if they can get past GMT in their bracket to do it, right? So definitely it will be an interesting matchup, especially because the top team, the Randalorians, are back. They're looking to defend their championship, and they've only gone scarier. They picked up Sagan and Lauren from Savrips, and they've basically maintained their core. Yeah, they lost some players, but the core players are there, and I think Sagan and Lauren already fit in well in the Randalorians, undefeated in league play. And they, as you said earlier, Tiny, they could play also off-brand meta. They could do what they want. They just did 2 P-Wings earlier this month. So, it's going to be very difficult. The Randalorians look sharp as long as they're practicing right now. I know they're practicing right now, so they're not going to get into the Helldivers trap. So they are thirsty for a back-to-back championship here. Scott, what are your thoughts on Randalorians?
Well, taking the best team and putting Sagan on it, not to mention Lauren, it's just brutal for the rest of us in general. Just
downright unfair.
Brutal. Downright unfair. Probably the best defender pilot. I mean, phenomenal at flying. I mean, Sagan's also like a mad scientist too, and if they start implementing what he wants to do, that's also pretty scary. Like our only hope is that they get over creative. That's all I got. If they, I don't know. Something's got to break on their side for any of us to have a chance. So we'll see. I mean, like Disco, Dino, and Sagan as a flex duo is terrifying. The rest of the team is obviously full of like the best pilots. They're serious. They're a good like core unit. And then they only dropped 2 games this season. Like not 2 matches, like 2 games.
Yeah,
right?
2 games. Yeah.
Us and GMT took a game off them. That's it.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Tiny, what are your thoughts?
I mean, their flexes are always on target. Their farms make it feel like every offense is a short offense. And with Lauren giving out constant resupplies like they're candy, I mean, you have to be on top of everything. You can't make any mistakes. And really, for the rest of us, it seems like the best we can do is just try and keep up.
Yeah, people aren't even mentioning Rod yet. I mean, Rod and Chewie is scary. I mean, any of their objective combinations is scary on top of the fact that Sagan and Disco, as you guys said. I mean, you have to find a weak point and shake them off their game. And it's going to be very, very difficult because Randalorians have very few weak points at this point. So, I mean, I guess the only thing you could say is get them to play Helldivers right now, guys.
Yeah, go play Helldivers right now. That's all that's important.
Get them distracted.
Yeah.
Like, the other thing is, like, I used to think Lauren was, like, a little bit overrated, and now I think she's underrated. Like, I think she's phenomenal and, like, improving consistently season over season. Like, she seemed like she was killable before, and I can't kill her anymore. It's impossible.
I find that interesting. I know a lot of people have said this or that is the best support in Squadrons, but I mean, for me, and again, I think it's a little bit of bias, is that for me, Lauren has always been the best, like, in league support, if you want to put it that way. Are there better technical supports than Lauren? Probably, maybe. I don't know. I think Lauren has always been very difficult to kill, but Lauren knows where she needs to be, and also which person needs to be resupplied before they're even calling for it. And you could see it, if you look back at some of the old Savrip games, there are times where I'm like HP, I'll be like, health 50 and I'm already getting the resupply. Like I'm already getting the resupply, or I'll be like 0-2 aux and I'm already getting the resupply. She's in her head, she's already got the count for who needs to be resupplied next. And it will only change if someone else speaks up because they screwed up or whatever. And then she gets on top of it. And not only that, her positioning is good for the resupply. I'm playing with her a lot. I've never left wanting when I need it. Or the only time I left wanting is because she died or she needed to come back from spawn, essentially. At which point I'm like, okay, I'm going to go full evasive. Just get here when you get here. And she'll be there 2 seconds later, giving the resupply, right? And for me, that's why Lauren has always been, in my mind, the best league support, because you could stick her into any team and she'll fit your game flow from the start, with them never playing with you guys in whatever is happening. And I think some people, like you just said, underrate her, or in the past thought that she's overrated because of that, because she quietly does her job and just goes about it, essentially. And this is why. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
She's like everybody loves Lauren.
Yeah.
Right. Like she's got the best vibes too. So
yeah,
you put that on a team, you can have a support that like everyone trusts and everyone likes, and you add on top of that I mean, she's always been good at like the normal, like the sport things, like you were talking about, like the fundamentals and decision making, but like adding on to like survivability has just been like buffed up real high, and there aren't any real weak points anymore.
And that's I was about to my abridged on why I think the Randallers are the scariest team right now, is because last season they definitely had the support carousel, right? They were struggling to figure out who to stick in support, and that was kind of like where their weak spot was, if any, last season. This season, adding Lauren basically covered that gap, because Hobbs did play for them last season, but wasn't always available. And sometimes, Hobbs kind of looked out of place, whereas Lauren, I think, steadied the ship. Lauren definitely steadied the ship from the support perspective.
And Hobbs looks better than he has, I think, now that he's not like splitting time doing everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and because Hobbs can do Hobbs things, and Hobbs is a great support. I mean, we all know Hobbs is a great support, but Hobbs being able to dial in what he wants to play, I think, has kind of given him new life with this team. So, but the things we're saying here is scary, because they're finding the fun in the game still, which makes a team scary.
Yeah, right. I was just about to say, like, Sagan, Hobbs, and Dino like having fun is a nightmare for the rest of us.
Yeah, because it's more it's a game for them, and like we're just the playthings. And I think, but I do think teams like Cab, GMT, Idiots Array, and you guys can find those moments to pick on and can put pressure on them. So it's just a matter of finding it, and hopefully, those moments arise. But if this team is dialed in, there's a reason they're number one, and they'll be tough to beat.
Yeah, we can. I mean, they're beatable in a game, but are they beatable 3 times?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to figure out. So I brought up the playoffs again. So GMT, Hive Guard. Sorry, start from the back. Hellporks, Crone, Laser Rangers, Kindred Striders will move them forward. Whoever wins there, then that will flow through the rest. Looking at this bracket, there's some spicy matchups which we just talked through. Nothing has changed for me in terms of my spicy matchups. But let's go into predictions first. In terms of who we think is going to win the championship, let's start with you, Tiny. Who do you think is going to win this thing overall? Who do you think the team is going to walk away with season 11?
Oh, why you got to pick me first? Let's see. I'm going to go with Grey Hive Guard.
You're going to go with Hive Guard to win the championship?
I'm going to go with Hive Guard.
I love that pick. It's such a good pick.
How about you, Scott? Who do you think is going to walk away with this?
Oh, yeah, Siren's gonna win it all. Last year I said we're gonna lose. Last season I said we're gonna lose in the first round. We're gonna find the fire.
You're gonna find the fire, so Siren to take it all.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I got to be the pragmatic pick, the pragmatic picker. Oh man, I know last season we said that the team that came out of the more difficult bracket, which ended up being Savra, was gonna win, and unfortunately it didn't work out for them. I really feel, depending on which GMT shows up and how they're dialed in, I think they could take blue, and I think they'll give the biggest challenge to the Randallorians in terms of the championship matchup. Randallers, I think, are going to go to the finals. I don't see the teams in the top. I think Siren, you guys could possibly steal a game from them, maybe 2. Taking 3, I think, will be a tall order. Idiots Array, whoever comes out of Siren and TBD, I think you guys could at least steal 1 game from Randallorians. 2 is very possible. 3 would still be a tall order. So I think Randallorians win the top bracket. Man, GMT versus Blue. I think it's going to probably be GMT, but it's a 50-50 GMT and Blue, but I'm going to say GMT. But I think it's going to go 5 games. The Randallorians probably dialing in on the PK pressure and winning it. I think the Randallorians do defend, though. The person in me wants to say GMT is probably going to win it, but I think the pragmatist in me says the Randallorians are going to take the championships. But let's go back to some of these matches before we close it out tonight. Randallorians. Probably spelled that wrong. Let's look at the first match of Hellporgs and Crone. Who do you guys think is going to win? Scott, who do you think is going to win between Hellporgs and Crone?
I think Hellporgs. I really hope Crone wins, but Hellporg's just flying really well right now. They're super consistent. I will say, I do see a path for Crone to win, but like, they've got to cut down unnecessary deaths, and they've got to. But if they can spiral some PK on this team,
you know what?
It can work. There is a path for the Crone to win, but I think the Porgs will probably take it. They're too consistent and strong.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right around where I'm at. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Hellporgs are going to win the first game. Crone's going to win the second. Hellporgs are going to win the third game. But I do think it's going to be a very, very close game for that first match. Like, I think it'll be a 1-game difference.
I'm trying to do a poll here. Wow, they only let me do 2? That sucks. A 4? That sucks. Or 5.
Which?
I'm gonna do a poll. Who you in chat out there, who thinks win the championship? If you say other, just type it out. I can't do more than 5. For me, I think Crone takes it. And the reason I say Crone takes it is because they seem determined to have a successful season. Especially towards the end of the season, I saw that they were very dialed and they wanted to get it. They had roster issues. I get that, but I mean they were one of the first teams to get their playoff figured out. So they seems like they're gonna be able to get it together here. I think Crone can create disruption against the Hellporg's objective race and possibly steal that. Crone has been a very pliant team, and I really think it's going to go 5 games, but I think Crone sneaks by in 5. Let's go to the other play-in. Laser Rangers and Kenton Striders. Tiny, I know who you want to win, but who do you think will win?
Obviously, I want the Kenton Striders to win. You kidding me? It's great. And I don't know. I think it's more likely that Laser Rangers Starlight Brigade will win, but at the same time, I'd like to see Content Striders give them a run for the money and come out on top. But I think we're going to have to work really hard to get it.
Agreed. And we've already been talking about the strategies for this, right? So I do agree with that. Scott, what do you think?
First question is Agent Rob going to be able to play?
I can't tell you that.
Information not available at this time.
Can't tell you that.
Okay. Well, I will say if Rob is playing, I think Starlight Brigade wins 3-2, and it's a full Empire. Only Empire wins on both sides. But like higher seed, it's a big faction.
Yep.
So Empire.
Being a homer here, I know it's try to separate being the caster versus a member of the team. We didn't play the B-Wing against them. We'll see if they can adjust to it. I think map picks will be one of the most important things here. But I think Kids and Striders have some tricks up their sleeves. I feel that it's going to go 5 games. My hope is it will be Kids and Striders in 5 games. You know what? I'm going to say it for Kids and Striders in 5 games against Starlight Brigade. I think there's a little bit of motivation there from the team to beat Starlight Brigade. They've kind of been the team that the Striders have been aiming to be the team that they're targeting to compete with. So I think that motivation will drive them to win. It'll be close though, but I'm hoping that it's going to Striders 5 is my opinion.
I will say that I have run the B-Wing against Laser Rangers, Starlight Brigade many, many times in practices over the last few months, and they are quite good at dealing with the B-Wing.
Yeah, so we'll see how Striders adjust, or if they maybe throw a curveball and throw a 2-1. Well, we'll see. Before we go back to the Say Blue Randallorian, go down the bracket, let's look at Siren TBD. Start with you, Ska. What do you think, Siren TBD?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think it's gonna be a bloodbath. It's gonna be a bloodbath.
It's gonna be a bloodbath.
It's gonna be a bloodbath. Absolutely.
Like it's gonna be a nightmare. I hope we can do it. Like I don't know. I think we can do it, but like if we lost 3-0, I also wouldn't be surprised. So, I'll say us, but like I have nothing but blind faith to go on.
Yeah, no,
like we 2-2'd them 2 weeks ago, so
yeah, and that's how close it's gonna be, right?
yeah.
Heidi, your thoughts?
No shade towards you, Scott, but I'm gonna go for TBD.
Fair.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling as well. I think it's TBD in 5 games. You know what? It's gonna. It can't be an Empire thing. I think it's going to be down to match another one with map selection, and TBD could be sneaky about their map selections in terms of they have maps they like to play against, and if some crazy thing happens where it's Xavier Abyss at the end, right? That may play into TBD's hands, but we'll see. Because they're not afraid to play NR to win the match, right? So
yeah.
I think
we full NR split them last time we played.
Yep.
NR won every game.
See, exactly, and that's exactly my point. Like they're not afraid to win on NR, and I think it will come down to not factions but map selection because they do work better in some maps versus others. So I think it's TBD.
Which maps do you think those are?
If it were to me, I'd make S-list one of the maps that is playable. So if I were TBD, I'd block S-list because the width of the map would kind of, I don't want to say neuter, but make the life of the U-wings harder. So some of the bigger maps, but they've been very strong on Foestar because Foestar tends to be a kill zone. Same thing with Xavier and Abyss. A lot of the PK maps will be favorites of theirs. So if I would expect them to do something, I think they would ban S-list is what I would do if I was TBD. But we'll see.
Go for it, TBD.
Okay, let's go GMT Hive Guard. Tiny, who do you think?
I've already put my money where my mouth is. Hive Guard's taking GMT.
Okay, you didn't forget.
I could see him.
You didn't forget. Okay, how about you, Scott? What do you think?
Oh, I don't know if I should do the Hive Guard thing where I pick them because I believe in them. I mean, they have been playing less this season, and I'm a little bit less high on them. But also, like, they did seem stronger than they have in past seasons when I played them last week. I mean, I don't know. It's like GMT has this like PK presence. I think GMT probably takes the Empire games. Let's go Hive Guard. I think it'll be Empire splits, and then Hive Guard will find a 1 NR win at some point.
Yeah, for me, I think it's GMT in 4 games. I do agree that Hive Guard can probably take a game from them, but it'll be Empire straight across for GMT. And I see them probably winning 1 NR game, depending on the map, but I see winning 1 NR game. So for me, it's GMT in 4. Let's go back to the top. Randalorians versus the winner of that play. And Scott, what do you think?
Randos.
Yeah. How about you, Tiny?
Yeah, it's gonna be Randos.
Yeah, I unfortunately for Corona Porks, I don't think they can disrupt that play. For me, it's gonna be Randos probably in 3 games. CA Blue versus Kingdom Charge and Laser Rangers. Tiny, who do you think's gonna win that? You think Blue will beat both those teams, or do you think there might be an upset in the making?
Well, Kintan has scrimmed against CA Blue quite often, and we've come close, but we have yet to beat them in a scrim. However, the Laser Rangers, I think they have a better chance at beating CA Blue than Kintan does.
But do you think Blue will hold off, or do you think there might be an upset there?
I think there might be an upset there.
Ooh,
I think it's going to be close, but I think if Starlight Brigade goes against CA Blue, there's a good chance of them winning.
Ooh, interesting.
And how close? But I think they can do it.
Interesting. How about you, Ska?
I think CA Blue wins maybe 3-1 over Starlight Brigade. And no offense, but probably 3-0 against Kintan. I don't think CA Blue is the type of team that will like put Medic on tilt. And I think a Medic that is not on tilt is a Medic that can turn the tide and take a game off of them. So that's
what I think Starlight Brigade really needs is drunk Medic against CA Blue. Drunk Medic pops off a lot more than the sober Medic. But like he's got to time it right.
Yeah, if y'all want to beat Medic, like you're his like close friends. You need to tilt him off the side of a cliff.
I have plans. I have plans. We'll see what happens here. It's not killing medic, but I mean to your point, I as much as either us or Laser Rangers have showed the capabilities, I do agree. I think Say Blue probably wins 3-0 against either team. Maybe 3-1, maybe either team steals a game, but Say Blue will probably win that. And man, I need to keep track of this. But I mean, down the line, I think we already said who we think we're gonna win. I think the rest of this playoffs will be very interesting. I mean, down the line, I think it's a matter who wins. There's gonna be interesting matchups either way. As we said earlier, SPL kind of has their footprint now, so PK has become heavier as it goes. So clicking here. So for those of you who are here still, Hellporgs and the Night Witches Crone have already locked it in April 12th at 6:30 p.m. EDT. And Siren also is locked in the game against Idiot Array April 13th at 1:30 p.m. EDT. Both games do not have a caster. Starlight Brigade versus the Kindred Striders. This is not official yet, but I'm pretty sure this is going to happen this day because we cannot do Friday, as I've just learned right before the cast. So April 11th, we're looking at 10 p.m. EDT, but I'm going to try and lock it in tonight. So these are some of the first games that are looking. Pilots, of course, will be streaming their ends, but we will get casters out there immediately. So come to the SCL Discord or look in the 5-man's Discord for the announcements. Yeah, we did bigger picture of the wildcard matches. Before I go to closing remarks, let me just check the results here of the poll, which I put up about 10 minutes ago. Looking at it, not too many votes, but it seems that a fan favorite was Siren to win it. 2 votes. Randos, Cab, GMT have equal votes, and other, I don't know who said for other. Is it? So it looks like no one knows who's going to win it this season. Seems to be all over the place. Why is this not showing? I'm sorry, guys. It's just not showing. It seems to be all over the place in terms of who we think is going to win the championship here. But this is going to be a very, very interesting championship. Season 11, definitely the closest we've had ever, I would say. Even though we're all saying Randalorians here because of the talent pool, I think every team is capable of throwing together something different and trying to adjust to the meta. I guess before we close up here, guys, Scott, you and I have been doing this a long time. Tiny, you joined probably mid-cycle here. Any thoughts on Season 11? What we liked about, what we didn't like about, what we're hoping for Season 12? You know, you can speak up and won't go in any order here. What do you guys, what are your feelings about things as we close up Season 11 here?
For me, I mean, like, I like that we were, one, I like the change in format. I like that we tried to change the format and didn't get stuck in the mud of doing what we've done the last 3 seasons, even though it was, I think a good format otherwise, but I'm glad we're trying new things. That's fun. Kind of hope no, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, like, teams and balance, I do think I feel like Squadron, like SEL, has been in a good spot for the last few seasons now. It's not been like Tempesta that's like dominated several seasons in a row. So I don't know. There's some parity that exists among the top teams. Although I think this season, more than the last few, we've had like Randos and Cab and GMT sort of pull away from the rest of the pack more so than the last few seasons. So we'll see if someone like the Group B-esque teams will have a shot. We'll see how they do. So I don't know. It was a good season. We'll see how the playoffs go.
How about you?
I definitely like. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say how about you, Tiny?
I definitely liked the change in format. It definitely mixed it up a little bit and changed like how we approached games in particular. But I would like to see something similar to divisions returned, so that way teams of similar levels can go against teams of similar levels versus like teams going against teams significantly higher or lower than them, so that way we can try to avoid teams just utterly giving a train wreck to some other team. I would like to see that change made, but overall I think Season 11 was a great adjustment.
Yeah,
to the sport in general.
I definitely I props to Cheeto and team Cheeto, Wait and Fame for not just being comfortable and just running another season, trying to adjust for how the league is adapting, listening to feedback. I'm one of the people that does give them a lot of flack for some of the decision making. I wasn't a fan of how they did the grouping of the games. I think that could be optimized coming in next season. But I do applaud them for changing the layout into something that is more exciting for everyone. I do agree with you, Tiny, that we definitely need to find a way to make the games more balanced so that it makes more sense in terms of the outcomes of the games. I definitely we were lucky that we made the playoffs, but I do think teams below us might feel cheated that they didn't have enough games against each other in order to fight for the playoffs. I think we need to find a way to do that so this way the games have playoff implications. And there's a comment I made before this season started, which is why I was pushing for Swiss. So I'm hoping that we take that kind of feedback and we look at it. But overall, I had fun this season. I agree. You said it earlier. The four matches I thought would have been exhausting, but ended up being more fun than I thought. So I was wrong there. And definitely it made for exciting strategies in terms of looking at the maps and for teams to try and steal that one game. Stealing that one game was very important. And you can use that as momentum to try and climb the ladder. So hopefully, like I said, if we clean up the matchups so that they're more meaningful, I think that will be more beneficial in the long run. I'm hoping we see more teams stick around. I know TR has said that they're implying that they're already going to break up. So there might be some players there if anyone's looking to poach. But I'm kind of hoping that we have enough players to keep teams together. Savrip is question mark. I don't know if we're gonna have another team next season for Savrip. Of course, I want Savrip to come back. Having the player base to do it is the big question. Kind of maybe we try and break up some of the bigger teams to force their hands and shrink some of the roster. I know that mercenaries and whatnot is a big reason why we do that, but maybe open up pilots so that some crazy team like TBD comes around. I mean, TBD has been an enlightenment. So I'm hoping for that for next season. But overall, I want to enjoy this playoffs. I think this will be another exciting playoffs, and hopefully we'll see a just exciting season 12 and not a folding of the league, which is always a scary thing, especially with Helldivers now kind of eating up a lot of people's time. So we'll see. I guess before we close, a couple other things. I did start talking with the squad leaders in SPL. They are very excited about trying another season of SPL. So if you're out there and you want to try 5v5 dogfights, please come to the SPL Discord. We think we're gonna have 4 teams again. I might prod Niwi to come in and come back and shoot with us. Though we are looking to make other teams. 5v5 dogfights is where a lot of these teams at the top right now have come up with some of their crazy strategies. So for a lot of you teams who think that it's not worth your time, SPL is the most exciting it's been. And some of these matches have been a lot of fun. Even the ones that kind of felt like they were runaways, the match was not that long. And I really recommend that if you want to hone up your team skills or find something more interesting new, come out and play SPL with us. And we'll definitely help out with that. But otherwise, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Tiny, for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun. I hope everyone out there who's been watching or scrimming or playing Helldivers at the same time enjoyed the cast. The playoffs have officially started, though the first match will probably be Thursday and Friday tonight. Then Saturday and Sunday. A lot of the other quarterfinal matches have to finish according to the admin, so they'll be helping. We'll find out these matches as they appear. Go to the SCL Discord or the 5-mans to get the announcements. And definitely come watch the playoffs. Is probably the most exciting. You'll see squadrons. There'll be tight matches, and I definitely want to promote them because I think whoever's new here for the cast or has come back from the wilderness, squadrons is the most exciting it's ever been. And if you think that it's gonna be a stomp here and there, it's not. I think this playoffs will be definitely the most interesting. And before I give my close out here, Scott, Tiny, last words before anything you want to add?
No, there are B wings, there are tractor U wings, there's an A wing, there are interceptor pilots now. We've got it all.
Yep. Tiny, anything?
It's gonna be a very fun season. It's been a fun season. It's gonna be a fun set of playoffs.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. And to the rest of you, let me take off the super mask. This has been an SCF presentation of the SCL Season 11 Playoffs. I'm Rebel Pilot. With me have been Scott and Tiny Dragons, who've been gracious enough to spend their time with me. I hope to see you guys out there in the stars. Have a good one, everyone, and have a good night.